Welcome to the second episode of How to Start Shooting Film. Today we will be choosing a lens for the Praktica MT-L5B that we chose on the first episode. As I said on the introduction, on the past episode we chose a Praktica MT-L5B as our body, but now we need a lens to go with it. But there are so many brands, there are so many lenses, there are so many specifications. Where should we even look at in order to choose a lens? A good place to start with is to know what kind of photography you want to do. Do you want to do street photography, portraiture, landscape photography? Maybe because you're starting, you want to try a little bit of everything and explore and see what gives you pleasure. So my recommendation is don't go to the extremes. Don't go for a telephoto lens or a very wide angle lens. Go for something that sits in the middle and allows you to try a little bit of everything. And this lens is for sure the 50mm f1.8 because it's probably the most recommended lens for street photography. It does very well with landscape photography. It's very nice, it's absolutely fantastic for portraiture, and it's because it has a very fast aperture, it has a very wide aperture, it's a 1.8. I don't want to go very deep into the technicalities, but what does these numbers mean? The 50mm f1.8, specifically the f1.8. This is called the aperture of the lens, and the smaller the number, the bigger the aperture. It works in an inverse way. And what does this affect? This affects something called the depth of field. And the depth of field is nothing but the distance in between a point where you focus until the point where it starts to be unfocused. So it can be a very deep depth of field or a very shallow depth of field. So it means there's a huge distance where everything is in focus, or a very small distance where everything is in focus. And this is very important for achieving something called the bokeh. The bokeh is nothing more than the isolation from the subject that you are shooting from its background. So imagine that you have your camera, you have your object, and you have the background. And you use a very, very shallow depth of field. And you can achieve this by using the lens at this maximum aperture, such as in this case would be the f1.8. What you would get is when you focus on your object, it will be only that very small point that is in focus, and everything behind or in front of that point will be in focus. That's called the bokeh. It's very artistic. It's very much welcome into when you're doing, for example, portraiture. Usually it's not so important for landscape photography. Actually, on the other way around, you want to use very small apertures, such like f8, f11, f16, because it will give you a much bigger depth of field. So you can focus in a tree, but everything behind the tree will also get in focus, not just the tree itself. And in landscape photography, usually you don't just want one specific object to be in focus, you want throughout the whole image to have everything in focus. So just like the last episode, I will just throw at you some glass that I think it's very high quality glass. You should do some further research on your own, you should read some more articles and watch some other reviews in order to better make your own decision. Anyway, I will recommend 3 lenses and give you my honest opinion about which lens I would pick up for myself. Actually, it was the lens that I picked up for myself when I started with film photography. So my first recommendation is the Yashica Yashinon DSM 50mm f1.7, the Carl Zeiss Sienna Punkolar MC 50mm f1.8, and the Pentacon MC 50mm f1.8. Because we are trying to find a compromise between price and quality, I will go with the Pentacon MC 50mm f1.8, which is a very high quality lens that comes usually next to nothing, something like 20-25 euros, and you can find this lens pretty easily. So guys, that's it for this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so. If you have, don't forget to activate the icon bell on the side in order to receive a notification every time we upload new content on this channel. So see you on the next episode.